for this presentation. I'm Rekha, working as Assistant Professor in Knowledge Institute of Technology. In this presentation, we are going to see about the water treatment. Before going to water treatment, let us see the sources of water. Water is the main content that present in our body. That is 80% of human being weight is made up of water content. So it is an important thing for all the living organisms. There are many sources of water. The main sources of water are rainwater, rivers and lakes, wells and spring, and the other one is the sea water. On comparing all these water, the purest form of water is the rainwater and the impurest form of water is the sea water. When we compare the availability of the water, sea water, that is the impure form, was available in large quantity when compared to that of the purest form. So we have to apply some technology or treatment to convert the impure water into the pure water. So we are going for water treatment. The process of removing all the impurities from the water and making it fit for industrial and domestic purpose, that is known as a water treatment. Again I am saying the process of removing all the impurities from the water and making it fit for industrial and domestic purpose, that is known as a water treatment. So before going to water treatment, we must know what are the types of water and why we are classifying that water. So the water, it is classified into two types. The first one is hot water and the other one is soft water. How we can say whether it is an hot water or soft water? On seeing the water, we can't say whether it is an hot water or soft water. So we have to use some ingredients or some chemicals to find whether it is an hot water or soft water. So when we add soap, the chemical formula for a soap is C17H35COONA. So it is a higher fatty acid, sodium salt of higher fatty acid. When we add soap to, if it contains calcium and magnesium, if there is a presence of calcium and magnesium ions, it is known as a hot water. If there is an absence of calcium and magnesium, it is known as a soft water. When we add soap to the water, if we take water and when we add soap to it, if it produces lather, okay, lather means nora madri mela form anuchna, if it produces lather, it is known as a soft water. If it does not produces lather, but if it produces white precipitate, வெள்ளையா படிவமா கீழ படிஞ்சிச்சு அப்படினா, that water is known as a hot water. So hot water is the thing which does not produces lather, but it produces white precipitate. So நம்ம சோப்போட வந்து கால்சியத்தை சேர்த்தும் போது it replaces the sodium ion that present in the soap. Calcium அங்க replace ஆயிடுது, sodium வந்து தனியா liberate ஆகி வந்துடுது. So we getting a white precipitate, வெள்ளை படிவமா வந்து படிஞ்சிடுது, and the sodium ion is set free. In the case of soft water, it produces lather, but it will not produce a white precipitate. So these are the types of water. Types of hotness. Types of hotness, there are two types of hotness. One is the temporary hotness and the other one is the permanent hotness. Based on the types of salt present in the water, we already seen that if there is a presence of calcium and magnesium, it is known as a hot water. In company with the calcium and magnesium, if it contains bicarbonate, if there is a presence of bicarbonates of calcium and magnesium, it is known as a temporary hotness. And if it contains chlorides and sulfates of calcium and magnesium, it is known as a permanent hotness. There are also some other names for temporary as well as permanent hotness. The other names are alkaline hotness, temporary hotness, as well as carbonate hotness. So we in order to keep in memory, we can take it as A, T, C. So A for alkaline hotness and T for temporary hotness, and this one is carbonate hotness. So the other names for permanent hotness is, for here alkaline, so here it is non-alkaline hotness. So non-alkaline hotness, for temporary, here it is permanent hotness, here it is carbonate hotness, and here it is non-carbonate hotness. These are the other name for temporary as well as permanent hotness. Let us see how it can be removed. In order to remove the temporary hardness, we can use the simple method. The first one is the boiling method, and the other one is adding lime to the water. When we boil the water, the calcium bicarbonate will be precipitated as calcium carbonate. சுண்ணாம்புக்கல் மாதிரி கீழே வந்து படிஞ்சிடும். So by means of normal filtering, we can remove the calcium ion, that is the calcium bicarbonate. In the case of magnesium bicarbonate, we have to add lime, that is நீர்த்த சுண்ணாம்புன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. calcium hydroxide CaOH twice அதையே வந்து ஆட் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா we will get calcium carbonate as well as magnesium carbonate. Both will get precipitated as an white precipitate. So by means of normal filtering, we can remove both the calcium and magnesium ions. And coming to permanent hardness, it is removed by two methods. One is soda lime. By means of adding the soda lime, we can remove the permanent hardness. And the next one is adding zeolite. Zeolite is like bed-like structure, that is the sodium zeolite Na2EZT. When we add hot water into it, it will absorb all the hardness producing calcium and magnesium ion. For that, it will replace the sodium ion. So these are the two methods used for removing the permanent hardness. Boiler troubles. Before going to boiler troubles, we must know what is meant by boiler feed water. Water that fed into the boiler for the production of the steam, that is known as an boiler feed water. Let us see some of the troubles that takes place due to the impure water, usage of impure water in the boiler. The following are the boiler troubles. The first one is priming and foaming, and the second one is caustic embrittlement, and the third one is scales and sludges, and the fourth one is boiler corrosion. The first one is priming and foaming. When we use water which contains some impurities like oil and greases, when the water is continuously boiled in the boiler, it will be formed like a foam on the surface of the boiler. That is known as priming and foaming. It is one of the trouble. And the second one is caustic embrittlement. When we contains the sodium carbonate, like that salts are present in the water, means when it is continuously boiled, that salts will be form crack in the boiler. It will be precipitate and it will create excess pressure, so that the boiler will get cracked. So that is known as an caustic embrittlement. And the second one is scales and sludges. It is commonly seen in our home also. When we continuously boil the water in a vessel, we can find a hard adherent coating, that is a white like precipitate that is formed on the inner surface of that vessel. So that is known as an scale. And the next one is the sludge. It is an loose, slimy and non-adherent coating on the inner walls of the boiler. So it will be an loose, slimy மிதந்துட்டு இருக்கும், பாத்தி மாதிரி இருக்கும். So that is known as an sludge. And the second and the last one is an boiler corrosion. Boiler corrosion, if there will be some evolution of gases like CO2 or SO2, NO2, like that, it will form as an acidic substances which will lead to boiler corrosion. And the next one is we must know whether the water is purified or not before we feed the water into the boiler. Before we using the water in the boiler, we must know all these things, whether the water is having the hardness less than 2 ppm, and it should not contain any salts like sodium, calcium, like that salts it should not contain. So in order to avoid all these boiler troubles, we must use a pure water in the boiler.